Welcome to the Fabric Podcast, where we explore company culture and how it scales as a company grows. Brought to you by the team at The Receptionist, a bootstrapped, Denver-based software company. Each episode of Fabric will set out to uncover unique and uncommon answers to the question, how do companies of any size create a culture and core values that employees actually live out? On this episode of the podcast, we have our 4 newest team members. We have Sarah Reimer, People Operations Coordinator, Alex Sassano, Customer Experience Representative, Andee Thompson, Business Development Representative, and James Jordan, Creative Manager. As always, we have a lot of fun on this episode. They're sharing about what it was like to go through the hiring process, learning about company culture, and any surprises or things they learned once they actually got here. They're sharing all about what they're up to in their role and the new and exciting things they're bringing to the table, and they each share something new that we don't know about them yet. And of course, we learned some really interesting things. So stick around and enjoy the episode. Okay, I am so excited. We have all of you on the podcast today. This is our biggest group ever. So before we jump in, let's find out who we actually have. So we're going to start with Andee. Each of you share who you are, your role, and what you're up to here at The Receptionist.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So I'm on the sales team and I'm a BDR, which is a business development representative. So basically, I'm the first line of communication for folks that are expressing interest in the receptionist. And so I help to answer their questions, understand their needs. And if they seem like they could be a good fit, then I pass them off to an AE.
Awesome. All right, Alex, welcome. What are you up to? Tell us about it.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. So I am a customer experience representative here. I've been on board for about 2 months now. So really that in that time, I've been learning the role, our product, the processes that we follow, and supporting all of our wonderful customers through chat and over the phone.
Fantastic. Sarah, what about you? What are you up to here at The Receptionist?
Hello. So I am our People Operations Coordinator, and I wear so many different hats that sometimes I forget everything that I'm doing. So I help with onboarding, policies and procedures. I'm super active with Culture Club. Project coordination as needed, and then making sure just everything is running smoothly in the office and everyone's happy. So,
well, we love that. We're all responsible for happiness, but we love that someone else is also looking out for that. So that's great. And last but certainly not least, James, tell us about what you're up to.
Yeah, I'm the creative manager. It's a new role for the company, and it really focuses on digital media creation. And right now, we're actually putting the final touches on building out a studio. And that's going to help us up our game when it comes to creating brand videos and also the quality of our webinars that we do weekly. And beyond that, it's a lot of narrative work, a lot of telling the story of our company and how we're growing and the challenges that we might face.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure we will touch on more of those things as our podcast continues. We'll have all of you back and learn more about what you're doing. But this is a really exciting episode because as a company, we have never hired this many people so close together. And for anyone who's listened for a while, they know that we are growing, but this is awesome to have all of you here. So let's just chat briefly. What's it been like to join the company at a time of such big growth? Sarah, why don't you kick us off on this one?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I love this question because I don't know the team any other way since I've been involved since it's been growing. So this seems really normal to me. But when I talk to some of the older members, they're definitely like, this is so different. They're kind of surprised, but it feels really exciting. I feel like I'm growing with something and kind of helping to mold it. So I'm looking forward to us as we get bigger.
James, what's it been like for you?
Well, very similar to Sarah. I mean, this is the pace that I came in at is the pace that we seem to be headed. And, it wasn't long before I wasn't the most recent hire. So, I mean, we're already growing at that pace. This kind of growth isn't new for me. I was at a company for a while that I think I was hired on at number 61. We grew to over 500 in about 2 years. So that kind of experience, there's never a dull moment, and you're constantly dealing with unknowns and kind of figuring out things on your own. So I find that exciting, and I'm looking forward to something similar here at The Receptionist.
Yeah, that's a really good point that for everyone who was already at The Receptionist, this feels very new and different for us because the hiring has been a bit slower. People are a little more spaced out, and then everyone comes in and it's like, oh, wow, this is so new and different. But for Sarah and James, you're like, well, it's what we know. And for James, it's, that's what I'm used to. Alex, what's it been like for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I started to go through the interview process in December, one of the first conversations I had, I think it was with Jessica, our director of customer experience. She said, "Yeah, we're a small team. There's 11 of us." And then by the time I came on, I was 13, and now we're up to 15, almost 16. So it's growing really quickly, and it's exciting to come in while the team is still small. But it's really cool to be able to watch it grow at the pace that it is.
Yeah. And Andee, what about you? And we should say we call you A2 around the office, right? Because we have Andee Alsop, our president and CEO. So we don't want to confuse this Andee with other Andee. Although I don't know how we really could confuse you two other than by name. So Andee, A2, what's been your experience?
Yeah, so it's been really fun. It's actually interesting because out of everyone here today, I am the most senior member. So I came in right before we started really hiring and growing, and it's been awesome. Every time we hire someone new, it's fun to see them immediately step into their role and start contributing. And I've only been here for about 3 months now, but in that time, I can already see how much everything has changed for the better. So it's really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think one thing we've noticed is that when our new hires come on, you all really do hit the ground running because we're focused on hiring the right people for the roles that we are looking to fill. So let's go back to that interview process, and company culture is obviously so important to us. So I'd love for you all to share kind of what you learned about company culture through that hiring process. Alex, let's start with you.
Yeah. So when I was going through the hiring process, I did a lot of research on the company, and everything kind of went back to the tenets of Fabric. And when I came in for the in-person interview, it was very clear that everybody in the office really embraces those tenets and truly lives and breathes them. And we talk about company culture every day. And I think that's great. And I think it's part of what makes this team so special is it's not just words that we use. We all really truly believe in them.
To piggyback off Alex there, that feels very similar to my experience. Like, I think what was most impactful for me was not only did we have a really defined culture, but that everyone lived and breathed it. And we could feel that. I could feel that from my first call with Lila up until when I met the team. It's been really great to be a part of a culture that believes so strongly in Fabric and practices it every day.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like we did all the research, like kind of Alex says, and you're reading it online, and then you go to the in-person interview and you can just feel the fun in the room and the energy. And you're like, oh, wow, they are not joking about this culture. Like, it's not just something that we're saying to say it. Like, it is actually completely ingrained, which is really cool. So yeah, loved the in-person interview, just like solidifies how much you want to be a part of the team, which was really, really cool.
James, what about you? What was your experience of the company culture in the interview process?
Yeah, I'd echo a lot of what everyone else is saying. Alex was actually in the room for one of the group interviews. She interviewed me with that, and I think it's so important that the company focuses so heavily on culture fit, finding the right person for the right seat, and really, what came forward for me is just how much that impacts the team dynamic. While we were in these group interviews, it was a fun conversation, and you don't get that everywhere. Just getting the opportunity to see how well everyone gels together was really eye-opening, and like Sarah said, it made me excited to be a part of the team. To the opportunity to be with a group like this and achieving what everyone's trying to achieve was fantastic. The little scary, I think, because there are some expectations there. Once you know that through the interview process, everyone has such a good sense for who you are. It feels like there's a little pressure to live up to that and make sure you're living up to the level that everyone else is. So, but it's a good kind of
nodding, like on their subsequent screens right now. Everyone is nodding, which I think you could see, right, that it's like, wow, this company says all these things about culture, and then you come in and it really is true. And there's such a strong team and it's so much fun and I want to be the right person for the right position. And then you get the job and it's like, oh, okay, now I get to go do this. But yeah, I can see where that would be a little bit of pressure. And part of what I love about these, sort of team podcasts and episodes is that you all sort of end up saying similar things. Like you said, James, like I echo that because we really do have this culture and value system that everyone believes in. And so it's not surprising once again that we're hearing a lot of the same themes. So I'm curious, has there been anything that anyone has learned about or been surprised by about company culture since starting? Maybe there's nothing, but any surprises?
I mean,
Alex.
I would say, I think in an interview, it's expected that everybody is on their best behavior, right? Like sell the company. We want to make this, potential new employee feel like this is the best place to work. And I think what was surprising to me is I came in and that wasn't an act. It truly is an incredible place to work. Our first value in Fabric is fun. And I don't know about everybody else, but I am laughing like all day, every day. It's such a good time. Even when I'm working remotely, it's just a really fun time. So I think coming in and realizing that it wasn't an act, it wasn't just people being on their best behavior, it all was very real, was really, really cool.
So it's a pleasant surprise. I love that. Anyone else surprised or learned anything about our culture since you've been here?
Yeah, I have for sure. Collaboration has really stuck out to me as something that I've been surprised about how much we collaborate. And it's a pleasant surprise. But, we work in office a couple of days a week, and then a lot of times we're working from home. So it's really important for us to all stay in communication and talk to each other. And I've never worked on a team that has been this collaborative. So it's been great. And it's been a good adjustment for me to learn what collaboration really looks like and what it means. And then to see the whole team in different departments collaborating together all day long. It's been awesome.
And part of, I think, what you're touching on is that it's done effectively and in a way that actually works, because I think we've probably all had experiences where let's collaborate and then it just doesn't work, or it's tense, or it's lip service, and we're not that. So that's great. Great that you've experienced that. James, any surprises on your end around culture?
It's just the idea that the values are not just something that we put on the wall. We have them on the wall and they look great, but they're really something that everyone lives out. I mean, like Alex was saying, communication is fun. We're always laughing. Everyone's jumping in to help each other, and I think it's probably the strongest company culture I've ever seen. And I'm very interested to see how it scales as we grow.
Absolutely. I think we're all interested to see how that scales and what we're going to do to make sure that the culture continues as we do continue to grow. I know that's on everyone's mind. Sarah, what about you? Surprises or things you've learned about culture since you've been here?
I've really been surprised about our culture club, basically. I've loved being a part of that team and kind of being able to collaborate and making sure that we're expanding on making sure that we're taking everyone's thoughts into account. So that's been really neat to kind of see how we want to, what donations we want to be a part of, or what charities we want to be able to volunteer with. I love that giving back to the community is also so big a part of our culture. It might not be one of the letters in our words, but I really think that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, awesome. So I know we started this episode with kind of what you're up to, but let's talk about any sort of new and exciting things you feel like you're bringing to the team that's going to allow for this growth. And, this could be anything, whether it's you personally or within your role. But yeah, what are you bringing to the team? James, let's start with you.
So I bring creative background, some focus on video production, design, photography, copywriting, voiceover. And I think what that will do is help us move more quickly on creative output, and really tell our story in a more authentic and relatable way.
Awesome. We look forward to that. Andee, what about you? What are you bringing? What's happening that's new and exciting?
Yeah. So I have been in the BDR role before. And so one thing that I have brought to the team is my knowledge of some of the tools that we can use to help streamline our processes and make us more efficient. So I helped get us started with Sales Loft, which is a really cool tool for BDRs to kind of keep us organized with the emails we're sending and the calls that we're making. So that's been really exciting that I walked in, and with the first couple of weeks, that was a project I was working on, and I feel like it's already made a difference and kind of helped us keep more organized and also move quickly through the BDR processes. So it's been really fun.
That's great, especially as we do continue to grow. That's going to be even more important. Sarah, what about you?
I've been really kind of working on our onboarding process. So now employees come in, they sit with me for a couple hours. We kind of go over policy and procedures, office protocol, industry in and out, anything that you can think of. So that's been really cool. And I'm also working to kind of formalize some of our policies and procedures, because as we grow, we're going to need more of that kind of documented. And, the bigger we get, the more we're going to need to make everything run seamlessly. So yeah, that's been really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. That sort of role is so important now. But again, as we are continuing to grow, you're going to have more and more people coming to sit with you and going over those things. So that's going to be great to have that all really, really clear. And Alex, what about you? What are you bringing that's new and exciting?
Yeah, so I have been tasked with making sure that our knowledge base, our customer-facing knowledge base, is up to date. So I'm working on creating support articles, editing our existing support articles so that maybe they're more clear or up to date. But additionally, I worked for Apple for 5 years right out of college. So I think I also bring a unique perspective in that, our software is only run on iPads. So I bring this knowledge of the Apple world and maybe a little bit more in-depth knowledge of Apple's processes and their software and hardware. So that's cool to be able to share that knowledge as well.
That's awesome. Well, I think, to see what each of you is bringing to the team and sharing that with us is so great. So before we finish up, we did this on each of our Meet the Team episodes, is we'd like to wrap up with sharing one thing that your team members don't yet know about you. So on past episodes, we learned about who's making really good pancake art, who can always find the great parking spot. And I'm not going to tell you who those people are. So any listeners are going to have to go back and listen to the episodes, or you're going to have to all go on a hunt if you don't know who these people are yet. But so for our team members here, share with us something that we don't know about you yet. Sarah, kick us off on this one.
Oh gosh, I had to ponder on this one. I have a secret love for scary movies.
Oh.
I know it's super cliche and they're usually really, really terrible, but I just love them. I can't help it.
It's okay. We all have our thing like, oh, this is embarrassing. Like, I love any Real Housewife show. It doesn't really matter where they live. If I start watching it, I'm going to get sucked in. So again, it's slightly embarrassing, but I also love it. All right, Alex, what about you? What's something we don't know?
Yeah. So I think people might be surprised to know that I was a ballet dancer for 15 years. Yeah. See, shock. Yeah. From the ages of 3 to 18. I mean, it was my whole life, and I went to college and it just kind of dropped off, but that was a huge part of my life for a long time.
I love that. We're going to say, Alex, can you pirouette from here to there, please? Do some chalet turns across the hall.
Exactly.
Andee, what about you? What's something we don't know?
Yeah, so I am a super creative person. I actually worked as a painter, and that was my full-time job for a couple years out of college. So whenever, like in my downtime, if I'm not painting, like I'm playing guitar or singing, but music and art's a huge part of my life.
That's amazing. I see James's wheels turning over there. He's like, how can we use this? And James, what about you? Finish us up with something we don't know.
Well, I used to write and record song parodies, mostly hip hop, mostly in the early 2000s. But most recently did a parody of a song called Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon, and it was called Netflix and Chill.
Oh, okay. I think we're going to get our hands.
Yeah, need more. I need to hear that.
I think we're all, I think that's our favorite. It's a consensus. We need to see these videos. Let's start sharing those. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us on the podcast. As always, so much fun. Loved learning more about all of you. And we look forward to having you back on the podcast soon. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are so glad that Sarah, Alex, Andee, and James are now members of the team. And we look forward to everything we're going to accomplish with them. And even more because we are continuing to hire. So don't forget to check out our careers page. And if you're looking for a visitor management system, Don't forget, we have a 2-week free trial, no credit card required, at thereceptionist.com.